Good morning, everybody, and wow, this is working really well today. Thank you for coming to another quiet day in the Capitol where there isn't much going on other than the state budget vote later on. And while obviously there will be some fair debate on that, I'd like to think that the legislation that is actually getting introduced today, Representative Tallman and myself have had this co-sponsor memo out for a couple of weeks now, and today, actually yesterday, it was formally introduced. Will be at least one issue where there won't be partisan bickering, and that is our religious garb proposal. Plain and simply put, this is about, in our view, ending religious discrimination in our public schools. This is part of what was really an anti-Catholic, anti-Jewish effort. At the turn of the century, these statutes were enacted in state after state after state. Pretty much every one of the 50 states enacted one of these statutes. Regrettably, Pennsylvania and Nebraska are the only two states that have not repealed their religious garb statutes. So I want to be very clear that this is not about having teachers proselytize in the classroom. This is simply about allowing them to wear an emblem of their faith as they teach, and not prevent people that may have, for a religious reason, dress a certain way, not be able to be a public school teacher. So Representative Tallman and I are proposing this in a bipartisan way, and looking to move this forward, hopefully as part, when an education code bill comes, maybe as an amendment, or hopefully as a bill separately. So thank you for your attention, and I'll turn it over to my colleague, Representative Tallman.
Thank you, Representative DePasquale. And as he has already said, we're one of two states in the United States left to not have done away with this type of regulation. And I believe it's a freedom of expression issue, and it should not in any way, as a matter of fact, we still have the rules. It's not going to be disruptive to the educational process. Those rules are still in place. And so I just think it's a very good idea that we allow teachers, and as Representative DePasquale has said, wearing a religious, a cross, that's the big issue in my, wearing a cross as a necklace is it's already being done. And the school districts in my state, or my portion of the state, basically aren't looking at it. But there's some fairly hefty penalties to the school directors if you don't enforce it. So I think, as Representative DePasquale has said, we're working together to make this change and bring us in the 49th state to have repealed this statute. Thank you.
Thank you, Will. And we also have some religious groups that have endorsed this legislation, specifically the Pennsylvania Jewish Federation. You have a press release there where Hank Butler speaks on their behalf, and his quote is, and he apologized for not being here, but as you can imagine, there's a couple budget line items that he's worried about. But the Pennsylvania Jewish Coalition is encouraged by, well, does everybody have the release? I don't need... you can get it. I don't, so don't have to read through the whole thing. Also pleased that Sandy Strauss, Director of Public Advocacy for the Pennsylvania Council of Churches, is here to also lend her organization's support behind this effort as well. Sandy, would you like to say a few words?
Well, I want to say thanks first to Representative DePasquale and to Representative Tallman for their putting this legislation forward. And I should add that we actually have a few items in the budget that we're interested in too, but I will be here later today as well. For us, we have always supported religious expression in terms of dress, and for some religious traditions, this is not. This is a mandatory thing. For us, we could, give up wearing a cross possibly, although many of us would not want to. But in some traditions, the dress is something that is required within their tradition, and we believe that those traditions should have the opportunity to dress as their conscience and as their religious tradition require. So we enthusiastically support this change in the legislation, this repeal of legislation that is far past its time to be repealed. So thanks again.
One final thing, then open it up for any questions. If school districts have dress codes, no T-shirts, et cetera, this does not impact that. What this is doing is preventing religious discrimination. But if there is a blanket rule that all male teachers must wear a tie, for example, this is not impacting that. I mean, and so we've gotten the question of what happens if somebody walks in with a T-shirt that says Jesus rocks. Would this legislation impact that? And the short answer is, if the school district has a dress code that says teachers are not allowed to wear T-shirts, there's no impact on that at all. This is saying that if something is part of a religious garment, you can't specifically forbid this type of dress or clothing. And like Sandy said, there are some faiths where this is not an option. There are some faiths where you have to wear certain items, and if school districts are strictly enforcing the law, that basically puts a segment of our population out of reach for teaching in the public schools. So with that, open it up for any questions.
Eugene, on that, so if, say for instance, if you're a Muslim teacher and you wear hijab, you're forbidden from wearing that?
Correct.
In schools? Okay.
Yeah, that doesn't, and let me be, we sort of alluded to it here, that doesn't mean it's really being enforced. There's some districts that are being enforced, some where it is not. But if it is not being enforced, actually that school district is on the dime for a penalty there. We view the law not only as being backwards, but you're also you're putting some school districts in a precarious situation right now, because they don't want to enforce it in many instances, because they have the same view as us, but they're in a catch-22 right now.
What's the penalty for a violation?
You're the one that. I believe it is 1,500, but I'm not sure if it's 1,000 or 1,500. I thought it was 1,500, but per violation, yes. And as you can imagine, right now, this isn't a time where school districts are looking to give away money.
So allowing, like John had mentioned, maybe a Muslim teacher to wear whatever they need to, that would still be allowed there. Are you guys considering any amendments to? Yeah,
and I'm going to, this is something, because this does come up, and that is, religious freedom is religious freedom. And this issue has come up in other states, and that is, can you allow the Catholic cross, but ban Muslim headdress? And our view is religious freedom is religious freedom. And I am not concerned that this will lead in any bad directions for Pennsylvania on that issue, when you have 48 other states that do not have this ban, and we've not seen any of these, any concerns that, at least put out by some in the beginning. So the short answer is religious freedom is religious freedom.
Let me just make a comment on that. I do have concerns on security. Right. If I completely have my head and face covered, and I'll be working with the Representative DePasquale on maybe, I don't know yet how we want to go with that, but yeah, I do have some concerns with that.
The short answer is, and Will's correct, there's security issues, then there's religious discrimination. And if a school district is going to approach something from a security issue, that is one tact. But if you're sort of going to say Muslims can't wear headdress because they're Muslim and they're a minority religion, that's something that you couldn't do. But if there's issues of security, obviously, if you say, well, my faith allows me to bring, a butcher's knife, or I'm just, I mean, and you're trying to not have butcher's knives in the classroom. I mean, there's issues of security, but you can't be doing it for religious discriminatory purposes.
Now, bringing attention to
you have a smile on your face. This could be interesting.
Well, I'd be surprised if a lot of teachers were even aware of this with the budget cuts and schools cutting teachers. Do you think this is going to be an easy way for schools to say, hey, look, we can cut these teachers for a year because they're wearing a cross to school? No,
I would say, first of all, this did actually, what prompted the change in Oregon law was a teacher was fired for wearing, actually was Sikh headdress. Teacher was fired, and then immediately after that, the legislature changed the law, and then the teacher was reinstated. I'm going to give school districts the benefit of the doubt that they won't use a Catholic cross or a Jewish yarmulke or Muslim headdress as an excuse to fire teachers. My hope is, though, that if we change the law, we don't have to have that debate anyway.
Let me just say one thing on that. We have, and it's all Western Pennsylvania, but we have two conflicting court cases
Right.
on the same issue. So hopefully our legislation will also bring some clarification to that. So the courts have ruled differently on this,
Right.
on the same issue.
We've never seen that before.
You're the lawyer.
Put 5 lawyers in a room, get 6 opinions. What do you want me to do? Other questions? Anyone in the back? Great. Well, thank you very much for your coverage and your time. And I think we both now have to get to caucus.
Yes.
Thank you.